I think this initiative started in June around the board of directors developing and issuing a statement on behalf of the organization on Black Lives Matter, not as an endorsement of the organization Black Lives Matter, but as a moral imperative of the social injustice going on in this country, and has been for forever. But quickly from that, there was a grassroots organizational development led by two people from the West Coast, and this is Ross Parker and
Julia
Hawkinson, sorry, and who have agreed to be co-chairs of this, and so and it's been a relatively small committee. Those two, Janelle, Molly Smith from California, Rob Pillar from Pennsylvania, me. Are there others on that?
No, not really.
You're on mute.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
I think that's the most of the people, most that have been active anyway.
The core of the group, and they the committee put together a charge. It's not called a charge, but what charter for the committee, and I think that's been circulated to all of you, and the first thing that is coming out of this is what we're calling a town hall meeting, JEDI town hall meeting. JEDI is Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And we're putting on this town hall meeting to talk to the membership about the issue, about where we hope to go with it. We have a keynote speaker, Aaron Jones, who is one of the most amazing speakers I've ever heard. And what a wonderful story, both her own story, but also the story she tells, the dialogue that she gets going in people on the subject of social justice. And it's a 90-minute program, and we hope all of you will sign on to that. It's free, but you do have to pre-register. As of Wednesday, there were over 250 people registered for it already, so it's really going to take off, I think. Our hope, what we've put into place is a desire to have every region develop its own JEDI committee, and for every chapter to develop its own JEDI committee. I mean, this is really a discussion of mindset and how that mindset works its way into everyday life, and in fact what we do in our professions around education, planning, and design, and so it's only as good as how every one of us live our lives. But to be able to have some organization to it, to have training around it, is really what we hope to do. The international committee will continue. It will expand. If people want to join that, people are going to be welcomed into that. But an expectation at the region and chapter level is what we're hoping for. And Rob has been leading the effort of communicating that to regions and chapters. So Rob, why don't you talk a little bit about that process?
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Phil. And I'm out here today in a beautiful Western Pennsylvania fall day and enjoying the fall foliage. So just glad to be on this call to be able to share this initiative, because it's, you know, the one thing, it was, as Phil had mentioned, it was kind of birthed out of the position statement that we made and put on our website. We really understand that if that's where it stops, then it's just lip service. And it's this initiative is birthed out of the desire that you know, justice, equity, and inclusion becomes the norm, and eventually we don't even have to have a committee that focuses on it. It is just part of the fabric of our culture, of our organization, and also the fabric of the culture of our nation as a whole. And so that's where all of it was birthed. I've been communicating with primarily the international board representatives from each region, and attending, if they would like, attending the meetings and the sessions that they would have in their regions, just to understand, just to talk about the initiatives, what their expectations are. The way the charter is written is, and by the way, Ross and Julia put the charter together and did an outstanding job, I thought, with that. And the way it's written, there's a lot of autonomy given to each of the regions and the chapters to determine what this new position, well, even if it is a new position, what we're expecting is that there would be a champion in each region and in each chapter. And that champion can be a new board position. We talked yesterday with the Northeast region, and they decided, yes, we feel that this is such an important initiative that it deserves a separate seat on the board. But some other regions are finding somebody who is an existing board member that has a passion about this, that would like to take this on as an additional role of that position on the board. So in the Northeast region, I'm not exactly sure how the chapters are going to handle it, but the Northeast region board has decided to create a new chapter. You know, I think we haven't determined who that's going to be yet. And we're hoping that with the town hall meeting that is coming up, that there will be a lot of excitement, a lot of understanding, a lot of people who have a passion about this and feel that they want to get involved with the initiative. And I know that Ross and Julia are going to be describing, you know, all of the, I think there were 5 or 6 different bullet points in the charter of initiatives that are going to come out of the JEDI committee. So there will be opportunities in each one of those to get involved and to volunteer. And the idea is to take this message, make it a part of the fabric of our organization, make it a part of the fabric of our individual disciplines, and to, as much as we can, influence the communities where we work to make it a part of the fabric of the culture of our society. That's it.
So we could go on, but I would rather just open it up to all of you to have a discussion about it.
So guys, do any of you have questions, comments, the need for clarification from Rob or Phil about the direction of this? I'll open it up to each of you.
I don't have questions on behalf of the region, and I'll speak from my experience working with Virginia, and Mike can feel free to chime in, but uh, I embrace this opportunity. I think it's a good thing for us as a Virginia chapter. Over several years, we've recognized that our profession is underrepresented when it comes to many employees. But so as far as our membership and how we've tried to recruit and who we've looked at, I think from a gender standpoint, when A4LE opened up kind of interior design, we opened up a market to where there was more female representation. But then when it comes to any underrepresented areas, our profession, working in a school division, my capital project team is very homogenous for the most part, but my maintenance and custodial is totally different. And then as far as female representation, it's underrepresented across the board. So as a state chapter, even when we've looked at student achievement and outreach, we've done some college architectural competitions, and we focused on the architectural schools in Virginia. And we had some that bit, some that didn't, but we purposely targeted one of our historically Black universities that had an architectural program to ensure that we were focusing and trying to recruit it within our profession and to promote and support that. So any ideas that come out of this, I think that from a region, from the Southeast, or even from our state chapter, we're very open to it because we recognize the lackness, if you want to call it, or the underrepresentation that exists, and how can we try to expand upon that, but also for our membership to believe that everyone does feel inclusive and inviting in the opportunities and the professional development opportunities that we provide.
Thanks, Al. Mike, do you want to add anything since you're from Virginia?
You're on mute. Mike, you're on mute.
So Al is eloquent as usual. I think it's a great initiative, and I'm looking forward to having the opportunity of engaging our board in and getting involved in this.
Henry, what about Georgia?
Well, with regards to Georgia, it's we hadn't gone down this path, so I'm looking forward to the town hall meeting just to hear a little bit more on how this initiative can be expanded upon. We have a board meeting coming up next Wednesday, where I will certainly bring this up, and we will certainly start the ball rolling. And I'll encourage everyone to log on to the town hall meeting to just hear more about it. But I certainly think it is a step in the right direction.
Thank you. Sean, what about Florida?
I mean, for the most part, I'm echoing everybody else. It's obviously with the size of the chapter and trying to, what I want to try to do is get people that are invested in this particularly, and try to get people to champion it on a state level. And but I'm curious about the town hall, as Henry had mentioned, to kind of get a little bit more insight about what the, how we can help, and some more of the fleshed out ideas from an overriding perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, because from my perspective, everybody is their own chapter, but there still seems to be there will need to be some continuity.
Yeah.
In the direction everybody's going to go with this, and kind of, understanding that a little better is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
It almost seems like there's a number of different paths for this to take. Minority, women, in terms of what that underrepresentation is and how it might be addressed. So I'm not sure if that kind of of thought has gone into kind of how the overall process from A4 Elite overall, their perspective, Phil and Rob, have kind of gotten into that type of analysis.
We have not, John. It's been, I think the committee has been meeting now for about a month and a half, I think. And one of the things that is,
and you don't have it all worked out already?
No. And quite frankly, we were too late. I wish we would have started this a little bit earlier. But we do also recognize that the discussions that are going to happen in Seattle are going to be much different than the discussions that happen in Florida. And, I think that when we had the keynote speaker, Aaron Jones, was on our discussion in our planning meeting for this town hall. And she recognized that, and she really applauded us for making regional diversity important as well as racial, as gender diversity. And as I said, that we had a discussion with the committee about the town hall yesterday, and we were looking at some statistics on what is the makeup of engineering and architecture in terms of gender and race. And we thought about talking about that, but we're not going to be going there at the town hall. That's not the purpose of it, because that's going to be, first of all, we're not all engineers. We're not all architects. We also have educators. We have educational planners. There's a lot of different disciplines that we represent. And it is not necessarily, and one aspect is definitely promoting our disciplines and being open and for everybody, inclusive of everybody. And but it's also how do we treat people? How do we, are there any, we all have to check ourselves. I've had to do this myself and I've found out, there is natural bias in me that I have to check all the time. And it shouldn't be there, but it's part of human nature. And there are ways that we can check ourselves with that. So we're going to have discussions about that. The committee has talked about within our the potential for having training for our leadership within the organization related to diversity. And I'm not sure if it's going to be mandatory or voluntary, and also making that available to our membership as well, just so that we can learn about and learn how to check ourselves and make sure that we're carrying the right message. So there's so many different aspects of this issue that we haven't had a chance to dive into the weeds. And we also want to make sure that all the discussions that are happening in all the different regions of our organization are heard, are understood, and become a part of the discussion.
Before we go to Taylor, if I could chime in on a little bit, because when Rob and I were talking about trying to get this group together, he and I both agree that this particular initiative is going to be received, implemented, and managed differently in the different regions of the country. That's just a fact. And so where the Pacific Northwest may take one approach, the Southeast may take an entirely different approach. You've got to do what is best for the demographic and the need within that geographic area. Taylor, you want to chime in here too?
Yeah, I mean, the other aspect of it, right, is the equity by design, which is like a whole nother aspect of this. But I just as everyone else has said, I think it's a great initiative, and I think it's really important. And I think that maybe looking at the membership base of each of the different regions would be like a good start to understand what this may be and turn into for the region, or potentially the states. And then also reaching out to other minority, trying to, like, making this a point may bring more people on as members. Like within LS3P, I know that there may be people who are more interested in A4LE just due to us putting this issue at the forefront. So I think it's great. But
Well,
maybe
and
reaching out to these
one of the-
members may
one
be
of the
important.
things that- One of the things too that is directly connected to this, as you mentioned, is retention and recruitment. And so we have multiple opportunities in multiple directions with an initiative like this. And unfortunately, it is going to take time to get this in place in the matter that it is truly a long-term benefit. The one thing that most any national association does is they'll initiate a program such as this, and then when the next administration comes along, something changes, and the effort and the resources and the treasure that you put into developing a valuable conversation goes in a different direction. I truly believe in this particular case that you have a board and board leadership that's willing to make the multiple year commitment to make sure that this activity, this initiative is successful long term. Phil, you wanted to say something?
Well, we're just starting a process of developing a new strategic plan for the global organization, and I really want to make part of an emphasis of my year in leadership on what I refer to as the triple pandemic, the COVID pandemic, which is the obvious one, the pandemic of social justice, and the pandemic of funding education in these trying times with layoffs and cost cutting and so on. And you can't talk about any one of these issues without talking about the other two. They are just so interwoven. So I think, Taylor, as you said, this might in fact attract others to the organization. I think the triple pandemic, those issues that are just so central to everything we do are in fact going to do that, and so be able to spread information and let's say share information across each other. There's a couple things going on. My office, which is fairly large, has its own, goes by another name, but it's got its own JEDI committee, and they met yesterday, and there were about 12 or 15, mostly young people, wanting to talk about this and really looking to set a direction for the office. So that's a sort of, it didn't come from A4LE, but it's on so many people's minds, and especially young people. I've opened up, I've shared the link for the town hall with all of the members of that committee. So I'm expecting other people from my office to be on the town hall who aren't A4LE members. So I hope that you have an opportunity to spread it around as well. And people keep asking, what are some of the things that might come of this? And I think that's what opening the dialogue is all about, being good listeners, as well as sharing. But one of the obvious things that we already have in place is our Schools Next program, and to be able to take the Schools Next program and find a way to be able to infuse it into marginalized communities, I think would be a terrific step, because that organizational power already exists, and so how do we find the teacher to want to lead that program, and then find A4LE members who would be advisors to those programs. So that's just one, but I'm sure there are many ways in which this can take place around the country.
Philip, once again, what was the date on the town hall meeting? I'm sorry.
It's the 22nd, which is next Thursday, I believe.
5 o'clock Eastern.
Edie, would you be kind enough to share with everybody on this meeting the link to the registration one more time? And
Yes, please.
if everyone would pass it along in turn. Again, doesn't cost anything. It does require advanced registration, so the facilitator of the event can manage numbers accordingly. You can tell I'm in the South when a pickup truck like that can pass by 100 yards away and they still drown you out. But anyway, if you could pass that information along, that would be helpful. Does anybody else have any other questions? Because we promised we'd keep this quick.
I just had a quick one for Rob, and again, we may learn more about it at the town hall, but I was intrigued by the comment with the Northeast, where you have your state chapters, but that you said that you guys are creating a chapter just for this. Can you describe what you guys are envisioning in creating a separate chapter for this?
No, it's not a new chapter. We have
Okay.
in the Northeast region, our chapters are not quite as robust as you guys. We operate a lot of our activity is at the regional level. Our chapters are kind of new. In fact, Phil is the one that kind of started our chapters just 8 years ago now. Yeah, and so instead of as I said, it could be an existing board member, or what I mean by that is it may become the responsibility of a treasurer or the president or the secretary. It may become an additional responsibility from an existing board member, or it can be a separate board member. Bring on a new board member, just like you have your president, your president-elect, vice president, all these sorts of things. It could be a separate seat.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Mm.
So Al, if you would, at your next regional meeting, which will be after the town hall, I believe, maybe place this on the agenda for a recap of information from the town hall, and we can follow up with the chapters within the region on how they would like to best approach this moving forward. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough.
Okay.
Will the town hall be recorded so it can be watched
Yes,
later
it
by
will.
other people?
Yes, it will be recorded.
So
I would envision if we've got 250 on there now, we will exceed 300 with great ease over this next week. And like you've experienced, Mike, with your lunch and learns, and Al is experienced with our regional events, the recorded component also takes a dramatic hit as well with interested parties. So I think we'll be in a good position. And again, this is I'm at least glad to say that this is going to be a project, a process, a conversation that is going to be long term with the association. So Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? If not, Rob, enjoy the grandeur of the Pennsylvania great outdoors. And Phil, I hope you have another great weekend at the Cape. And thanks for everyone for taking a few minutes out of your last day of the work week to participate in this. And Taylor, make sure the kids are well fed today, okay?
Make sure you see all the energy they're running behind me. So
And
Okay,
thanks for inviting
Thanks for your time.
us. Thanks for inviting us to be part of it.
Hamilton, I'll call you and fill you in, buddy.
Sorry.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.